What factors into you saying yes to a project, and what factors into you saying no?
Let me limit my answer to a narrative, to scripted narrative, because, there's so many other manifestations. But the one thing I would say is that it's just got to be a great script. I've learned the hard way that no amount of talent behind or in front of the camera, no amount of money can compensate for a bad script. Meanwhile, you can take a really, really good script and have shabby technical values and still have a really entertaining movie. So I look at what I do as window dressing, and I think it's important, of course, but if I don't have the skeleton to hang my pretty pictures on, then it's just going to be vacuous. So the first thing is that I want to see a good script. The other thing is that I want to know that these people have enough money to do justice to that script. I'm not going to be biased if you come at me with, $10 million or if you come at me with $200,000, as long as you can do a good job on your script with that money. If you're being unrealistic, to me, that's like buying a ticket on the Titanic, and I do not want to go down with it because I'll be blamed. If there aren't the resources for the crew, if there aren't enough days, if there are unrealistic expectations, if there are tons of visual effects and not enough money to pay for them, it's going to look like crap and my name's going to be on it. I don't care how much they pay me. I'm not going to do it. So a good script and the ability to do a good job with it. And then I look at the collaborators, who is the director, who is the producer, who are the other keys, the production designer, who's the talent, the cast. And if there are people I'm excited to work about, if they've done, or if there are people I'm excited to work with, if they've done good work, if I know them, if they give me a really compelling pitch. I mean, all of that, can play to getting me excited. Just like with the money, I want to know that they have enough time. I don't want them to tell me they're going to do a movie in 3 days, because that's, again, I probably should have said resource instead of money. I just want to make sure they have the resources, enough money, enough crew, enough time. And that's not saying you have to have a ton of any of those things. You don't have to have a ton of money. You don't have to have a ton of crew or a ton of days, but you can't have a shoot with 3 location moves in a day and 2 crew people. And, it's just, unless you're shooting guerrilla style, in which case, that's a legitimate form of filmmaking. But for me as a cinematographer, what does that do for me? Does that show anything that I want to show? There are some DPs who will embrace that because that's their jam, and that's wonderful. But for me, I'm a very, painterly and interactive. I want to affect the image. And if I don't feel to me, that would be damage control. If there's too many location moves and it's just like set up the camera, focus, get an exposure, shoot, move. I'm like, where's the creativity for me in that? Again, somebody else, maybe it's there. But for me, I don't necessarily feel it's there. And I might be wrong. Somebody might pitch me a movie and convince me, oh yeah, here, you can do it this way and that way. Again, this is the whole malleable thinking. I'm okay. Well, I would break that rule because you've convinced me. But just as a general thing, I want to see that I can practically achieve something I'm going to be proud to put my name on and won't be embarrassed by. And then, the last thing is money. Is it a friend asking me to come help out on a weekend? Is it a movie asking me to go to Brazil and shoot for 2 months? What is it? And so, I would consider that. And if it's something I really, really want to do, well, I at least have to make enough to make my bills, But ideally, you want to make enough to have some savings and have fun. And especially when I do travel jobs, I like bringing, Kathy with me and, Or, you know, and then we have some vacation days, and you know, like if we go to Canada or you know, wherever, just, you know, turn it into a little mini holiday, because most of the traveling, I've been all over the world. I've been to every continent except Antarctica, and it's 95% work travel. And what I do is I'll build in extra days, you know, I'll stay a little longer, or I'll go early, or, you know, if there's a break in the middle, but I turn it into these little vacations, and, you know, it's just super fun.
Have you ever turned down work and then when you looked back on it, realized maybe it was a mistake?
Oh, yes, I have a great story. And this is a money thing too. And it goes the opposite way of what I've been saying. So, yeah, I had a friend of mine, a casting director who I really got along with, and he had cast some movies that I shot. And he pitched me, he said, you know, Don Coscarelli, the guy who did Phantasm, is doing a horror movie, and it's a horror comedy, and they would like you to shoot it. And it was this movie called Bubba Hotep. And I thought, well, that sounds fun, because, you know, I like ancient Egypt, and I like horror, and I like comedy. And they called me up, and we talked, and I said, oh, that's great. And they said, you know, what's the rate? And they said $400. And I'm like, okay, $400 a day. I can, you know, I can make that work. And I said, okay, yeah, $400 a day is fine. And they said, no, it's $400 a week. And either this was right when I was starting music videos or right before, but anyway, I was making a lot of money at the time. And I'm just like, I just can't, I can't see that happening, you know? And I turned it down, and I was fine with that. Well, it turned out that they cast Bruce Campbell and Ossie Davis in it. You know, two amazing, legendary actors. And it's a cult classic. And I just kick myself. I'm like, oh my God, I wish I had done that movie. You know, I just, in retrospect, I don't give a shit. I would have done it for free. But you just never know. I mean, I've done movies that I took a chance on, and then they came out crappy. I don't know. That's just my experience. That was one that I wish I had made a different decision. But when I looked at the cards on the table, they just didn't make sense.